Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named A Whole Bag of Cheese in the AITA subreddit. The post is titled, "I refuse to wear body makeup for my friend's wedding." My friend has just gotten engaged and has asked me to be her maid of honor. I am beyond thrilled for her and beyond touched that she's asked me, but it's on the condition that I wear body makeup over my psoriasis. I can't do that. Not only is it impractical, but any makeup that would actually cover it would also exacerbate the condition and make my life miserable. To be clear, I have it well controlled. I am not flaky, the skin is simply very red. It covers 80% of one forearm, 20% of the other, both elbows, and I have large patches on my calves, knees, and 90% of the top of one foot. I use gentle manual exfoliation and a moisturizer that helps control the dry and excess skin. I apply the moisturizer a couple of times a day and wouldn't be able to do this while wearing makeup. I let her know I wouldn't be able to do that and explained why, even though she knows I have to be careful with all the products I use. She was quite unhappy with me. She wants beautiful photographs that make everyone feel beautiful and confident, which really upset me. I am content and confident in my skin. I know it's there and people stare sometimes, but what can I do about that? To be honest, most people think I've had some kind of gnarly motorbike accident or something. I'm at a point in my life where I honestly don't care and often forget that it's unusual to see. I know the reason is that she doesn't want to see it in her photos. I said as much to her and she was offended. I suggested that I wear something with long sleeves and a long skirt, but she has already set her heart on midi-length strapless dresses and said a shawl won't go. It got to the point where she was getting heated because I won't do it, and she told me to either wear the body makeup or not bother coming. I ended up telling her she could either have me as I am or not at all, and then I left. She is now not speaking to me but has told her fiancé that I accepted the role. The very next day, OP created a new post. Firstly, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who commented. I honestly thought the majority would tell me to suck it up, it's just a few hours for one day, and was surprised by all the supportive comments, compromise suggestions, and encouragement to seek further treatment for the sake of my health, not my appearance. I am definitely going to take my psoriasis more seriously because of some of you, so thank you. Also, my apologies to the mods. They had to lock the comments because too many people were being rude. I also want to mention all the Photoshop and editing comments. I feel stupid for not even considering it in the moment. It's such a simple and obvious solution. I was so shocked and taken aback by my friend's reaction and insistence that it didn't even cross my mind. I spent the night bawling my eyes out because a lot of the comments made me feel I'd wasted nearly 30 years of friendship with this person and doubt a lot of it. I still love her and was so confused. I was going to call my friend tonight to discuss this again. I was truly touched that she asked me to be her maid of honor. She has such a close relationship with her sister that I never once thought she would ask me. I didn't end up calling my friend, as her fiancé called me to thank me for accepting the role. He told me secretly that his family wanted to pay for the bridal shower, hen night, and anything else we wanted to do, as he knows the people my friend wanted as other bridesmaids weren't in a position to contribute. He also said that his family would reimburse me for any body makeup costs, which did strike me as odd. I told him that I hadn't accepted the role and that my friend had told me to either wear the makeup or not come at all. The fiancé was shocked and confused. I explained to him that even mild inflammation would cause days and weeks of irritation at best, or months of pain, cracked skin, and possible infections at worst. He had no idea, was completely oblivious and very confused. He's only really known me while my condition has been pretty well controlled, and I tend to play it off as not so serious to people because I just don't want to talk about it. We finished our phone call, and after a couple of hours, my friend called me back. I could tell she had been crying and was quite upset. She apologized profusely. It turns out that her future mother-in-law and sister-in-law had been picking away at her, making her feel awful about herself and how she needs to be perfect, presentable, and beautiful on the day, insisting that nothing can distract from her. They had both convinced her that she was being especially kind by not worrying or caring about how I looked, but that everyone else was just lying to her about not caring. This has been going on for months, even before they knew of the engagement. Little digs about me trying to turn my friend against me. Both the Mill and Sil are apparently disgusted by my psoriasis to the point it makes them physically ill, and they claimed her entire wedding day would revolve around how I look and would make everyone miserable. They said that it's all anyone would speak about, that if I came, no guest would be able to eat or enjoy themselves, and that I was selfish for even considering going without hiding it. They didn't want me there at all and were threatening to prevent the wedding from happening. It was never about the photographs. It was about my condition being visible in general. I didn't really know what to say or do. It was a lot to process, and I do truly believe my friend is sorry. As I said, this was so out of character for her. My friend's fiance got on the phone once she'd finished explaining. He is going to speak to his family. He apparently had no idea that this was happening and is pissed off for my friend and on my behalf. I don't know what's happening with the wedding or the wedding party, but my friend has said that she can't imagine her day without me there and that she feels awful that she allowed them to manipulate her that way. I don't know how I feel yet. I have emotional whiplash. I'm hurt and confused that my friend let them convince her to go through with this, but I do think and hope we can get through this. In the comment section, user Dr. Social Determinants said, "As a physician, I'm struck by the sheer volume of people who do not understand how debilitating psoriasis is. Imagine dry, bleeding, scaly rashes of various sizes across your body that hurt or sting when exposed to even water. Moisturizers aren't enough and you can't hide from it. It's worse when a large patch is somewhere where it rubs against clothes. Forget how painful it can be if it's generalized. Imagine having to take strong medications to control it, but you always worry about a potential flare-up and the resulting discomfort and pain. I haven't even discussed psoriatic arthritis. I ache just thinking about it. People seem to have little empathy for conditions when they can't understand the pain they cause." Another user named Sawdust Arrangement said, "Drama aside, I'm really glad OP started looking for some better doctors. People think of psoriasis as just a skin condition, but it can be pretty serious. Psoriatic arthritis is no joke." This second post was made in the marriage subreddit by a user named Yacht. The post is titled, "I think my husband is having an affair with his stepsister," just what the title says. "I believe my husband, 24M, and his stepsister, 23F, are having an affair. My head is spinning and I don't know what to do. My husband's parents divorced when he was 15 and his dad remarried when he was 17. His stepmom has one daughter, let's call her Jess, who was 16 at the time of the marriage. They all lived together for about a year and a half before he left for college, which is where he and I met during our freshman year. During our sophomore year, Jess began going to the same school as us. He introduced her to our friend group and she quickly became a part of it. They always seemed more like friends than siblings because their parents didn't marry until they were older, but they would sometimes refer to each other as bro and sis. Back then, I sometimes got the vibe that she was flirting with him, but he never returned it, and I just brushed it off as her personality, thinking I was being crazy because there was no way that would happen. Fast forward to now, we all still live in our hometown and see each other pretty often. Jess is single and hasn't had a boyfriend in several years. She and my husband are still very close. When we are all hanging out together, including their parents, if we're sitting on the couch, she will sit right up against him, sometimes even putting her head on his shoulder if he's showing her videos on his phone. I have always found it odd, but have brushed it off. Of course, they aren't actually related, but it would still be too taboo and weird, so I've never fully allowed myself to be suspicious. However, over the last 6 months, things have been getting weirder. My husband's and my birthdays are in April and only a week apart, so for the last couple of years, we've just combined them and celebrated both at the same time. We had friends and family over, and normally we receive joint gifts, but this year, Jess got my husband something specific to him, fairly expensive gaming headphones and a watch, but nothing for me me. She also got him a card and wrote a decent amount in it. I didn't get to read it when we were opening things, and later on I couldn't find it. When I asked my husband where it was, he brushed it off, saying he must have accidentally thrown it out with its envelope, but the envelope was still with everything else on the counter. They've been texting a lot more, and she's also been talking to me less. Remember, she and I have been friends for the last 5 years. Sometimes I'll see texts from her pop up on his phone screen with emojis. This will be while he's holding it, and he'll unlock it so fast that I've never really been able to see what they say. If I ask her to meet up or hang out with just me, she's always busy. But if she's coming over to our home to see both of us, she never says no. He has also been going to see her more often, which is a complicated detail because she still lives at home with her mom and his dad, so he just tells me he's going to hang out with his dad for a bit. But I have a feeling it's for her. He and I have also been less intimate lately. Neither of us has ever had a super high sex drive, but we have always averaged at least twice a week, and now it's about 2 to 3 times a month. What pushed me over the edge was when we all got together this past July 4th. We were at my father-in-law's house for a big cookout and pool party. While in the pool, she kept hanging on him from behind. Picture him giving her a piggyback ride in the water, splashing him, and being overly playful. I kept thinking I was crazy because maybe after all these years, they really do have a sibling-like dynamic, and she's just messing around. But I also caught her staring at me when my husband and I were being close, and she looked angry. Now, cut to the worst of it all. We were all done with the pool and went inside to change. I was with my husband in his room, and right in the middle of us changing, she came in without knocking, randomly asking if she could borrow my hairbrush. My husband didn't have any clothes on. I was horrified and said something like, "You need to knock first." She seemed unfazed and lazily covered her eyes, saying, "Oh, whatever, he's basically like my brother." My husband seemed embarrassed, but not as much as you'd expect. She left like it was nothing. Since then, she has barely spoken to me at all, and I am absolutely spiraling at the thought of this. Am I being crazy? I haven't said anything to him about this because I'm so scared to be wrong and then be accused of sleeping with his stepsister. I need others to tell me if they agree with what I've been seeing or not. Updates. Thank you to everyone who has responded. When I made this post, I was hoping for validation of my worries, but was also scared of that at the same time. I'm trying to keep it together and act normal around him the best I can. Tomorrow he's going over to his dad's, so he says, so I plan to show up there and see what's going on. A lot has happened since I went to his dad's house on Saturday, and I haven't been on my phone much. When I get time later tonight, I will post a full update of what's happened. I will most likely make a new post about it because it's been hard keeping up with the comments on this one. Bear with me as I get my head sorted out. I have created a new post to give a full update. Several weeks later, OP made a new post. "Hey everyone, I'm sorry it has been so long since I made my original post about this. If you haven't seen it, you can find it on my profile. To say that our family has totally imploded since I last posted would be an understatement. So much has happened that I never expected or was prepared for, so I apologize that I ghosted all of you. But this has been really hard. Just an FYI, I will be paraphrasing the text messages I mentioned. Picking up from my last update, I did go to his dad's house that weekend when my husband told me he was going to see him. When I got there, only my husband's car was in the driveway. I wasn't sure what to do, whether to call his dad, call my husband, or what. I decided to just go in because I didn't want to play games. I walked in and heard his and Jess's voices coming from the kitchen. It sounded like they were yelling. Even now, I couldn't tell you what they were saying. I was so full of adrenaline as I approached them that it was like I was watching them on mute and not actually hearing what was happening. He spotted me and looked like a deer in the headlights, and all I could muster was to ask, "What's going on?" I stared at them for a couple of seconds, and then my fight or flight kicked in. I am very non-confrontational, so my instinct was to turn around and run. He chased after me and pulled me into a guest room to talk. Again, I asked what was going on, pointing out that he and Jess had been acting so weird, and I point blank asked if he was cheating on me. He seemed shocked by the question, but then out of nowhere, he started bawling his eyes out. I have never seen my husband cry before. He said that no, he wasn't cheating, but he had something to tell me and that we needed to go back to our house. At first, I protested and said I needed to know right then and there, but he was having a breakdown and begged me, so I agreed. We left his car there and drove home together in mine, but I sat in silence the whole ride as he cried and tried to collect himself. When we got home, we sat in the living room and I once again asked him what the fuck was happening, as my patience had run thin. Then came the word vomit. He told me that during our junior year in college and Jess's sophomore year, he went to a party with friends and got very drunk. We were dating by this time, but I wasn't there that night. I had gone home for the weekend to hang out with family who were in town. His friends ditched him to go hook up, so Jess offered to let him crash on her couch for the night in her on-campus apartment. Our school had them, and she had a single room because she was an RA. He said he woke up at some point after that with his pants down and her on top of him having sex. He told me that at the time he felt out of it and didn't really understand what was happening. All he remembers is waking up and seeing / feeling it. He then woke up again a couple of hours later to find she was asleep in her own bed, so he left and went back to his dorm. He never told anyone. It took him a long time to fully understand what had happened, and he felt like he couldn't tell anybody because 1. He felt ashamed and embarrassed. 2. He didn't think anyone would believe him. 3. He didn't want to be known as the guy who slept with his stepsister. 4. He was afraid of losing me. And 5. He was worried about his dad. He feared that if his dad found out, it could ruin his marriage, especially since his dad is so happy with his stepmom. He told me he basically just acted like nothing happened, even around Jess when we all hung out together. He said that he and she never spoke about it until a couple of years later, when he and I got engaged after graduation. She sent him a text essentially saying she loved him, thought about that night all the time, and questioned why their parents had to meet and get married when they could have been together otherwise. Essentially, she is obsessed with him. Shamefully, I will admit, when he first told me all of this, I wasn't sure what to think or believe, until I saw their text messages. I questioned him, asking why, if this was the case, they were always talking and why he hadn't distanced himself now that we're married and out of school. He told me it started up again with her about 6 months ago, as I said in my original post, when he and I told our families that we had decided to try for a baby. He had a screenshot of the text she sent him the next day, ranting about how he shouldn't do this. She said that marriages aren't permanent until a baby comes into the mix, that there was still a chance for them to be honest with their family so he could leave me, and that she still loved him after all this time. He replied that he loved me, wanted to start a family with me, and didn't love her in that way. He told her he never wanted her to bring this up to him ever again. That's when her demeanor changed, and she said if he didn't love her, why did he fuck her, and what would their family think? Essentially blackmailing him. I read through as many of their texts as I could handle. It was always her saying things like she was thinking about him or wanted to see him. She would even send texts while we were all together, telling him he looked good in his outfit. Sometimes he wouldn't reply, other times he would try to have a normal conversation or steer it in a different direction, and sometimes he would just tell her to stop. On the days he told me he was going to hang out with his dad, it was because she was begging him to go over there so she could see him, threatening that she would tell her mom everything. So he would agree to go, but swears nothing ever happened. He said one of their parents would be there most of the time, and it would just be all of them on the patio or in the living room. That day, he had gone there to tell her he was sick of it and couldn't do it anymore. He told her she could tell people whatever she wanted, but he was done. That's why they were yelling. I sat there taking it all in and was honestly speechless, as I did not expect any of this. I asked him about our sudden lack of intimacy, which was essentially only during my fertile window since we were trying for a baby, but never any other time. He said that all of this being brought up again had mentally made him shut down about sex. He was only doing it for me because I want a baby. It has taken him this long to realize and come to terms with the fact that she assaulted him and that this is harassment. I cried. I felt betrayed by her and then a heavy, deep empathy for him. I just hugged him and cried, and he cried too. I told him he really needs to tell his dad because we can no longer associate with her in any way. and asked how we can manage that when she lives with him. At first, he said no, he couldn't, because he was worried they wouldn't believe him and also didn't want to ruin his dad's life. He wondered how the marriage with his stepmom could survive this. I told him I didn't have an answer for that, but that he had to trust his dad would believe him. I was also worried about her panicking after their argument and doing something crazy. He agreed to tell his dad and said he wanted to do it alone. The following weekend, he met up with his dad and told him everything, showed him the text, etc. His dad believed him and, like me, was caught off guard and speechless. This led to his dad telling his wife he was kicking Jess out. However, his wife did not believe it. She claimed my husband must have edited the text somehow. They were actual texts in the message app that you can scroll through, and it's Jess's number attached to the contact. Jess freaked out, saying none of it was true and that he was the one who had been harassing her. That's when my husband threatened to take it all to the police for an order of protection against her if she did not tell the truth. And she finally admitted to everything in an insane meltdown. His stepmom is horrified, and his dad doesn't know if he can get past her not believing my husband and accusing him. We are currently in this weird limbo phase with the whole family on edge. Jess is still living there. His dad has demanded she leave and has given her 2 weeks instead of kicking her out on the spot in an attempt to salvage the situation with his wife. My husband and I are having lots of talks and trying to regroup. We've put trying for a baby on hold as he seeks therapy for this. He is still considering going to the police about the harassment. My heart is broken for him, and I am also trying to come to terms with the truth that Jess, whom I've known for years, would do something like this. I was prepared to uncover an affair, but never this. I'm not sure if there will be any more updates after this, maybe if my husband decides to pursue legal action. I want to say thanks to everyone who pushed for me to dig into my suspicions. Otherwise, this could have gone even further. I don't like to think about what could have happened. I probably left things out, so if people have questions, I'll try my best to reply to comments. In the comments, user Right Loves said, "I'm glad OP talked to her husband and recognized Jess's behavior for the abuse. Poor guy. What a horrible situation to be in." In response, a user named Manage Consequences said, "And it gets so much worse. I'm in a similar situation, male SA, and it is shockingly difficult to find mental health providers who will take this problem on. I went through at least 40 providers who turned us down flat. It's really disheartening." Under this same comment thread, a user named Miserable Fennel said, "My heart is with you. My little sister was raped when she was abroad, we're in the States, and she cut her internship short and came home the next morning. My mom, my little sister, and I, or some combination of one of us with her, tried literally every resource available to us locally and nationally, doctor's offices, crisis counseling, hotlines, the whole works, and nobody would help her. Even getting an STD panel was a nightmare. She had to recount the experience for every person who answered the phone to make an appointment, every nurse she saw, crisis counselor, the people taking her vitals, before the doctor came in, and then the doctors themselves. I have never felt so much anger and violence towards strangers in my life, not even when I went through the experience previously. Fuck, I'm so sorry. I'm sending so much love and strength your way." This final post was made in the relationship advice subreddit by a throwaway account. The post is titled, "My brother is dead. My family is awful. I'm still a mess. I ran away from home when I was 16. My family was and is incredibly toxic. My father was verbally, mentally, and emotionally abusive. My mother enabled him and was mentally abusive in her own right. I was forced to work full-time in addition to going to school because I was expected to pay rent on top of repayment for the money spent on taking care of me as a kid. I'm not proud of it, but I started hiding some of my tips and lying about how much I made when my father asked for his payments. Eventually, the owner of the restaurant where I worked offered to let me live in the apartment upstairs for very cheap in exchange for some extra side work. I agreed and moved out one night in secret. There was an awful blow-up. My father showed up at the restaurant and demanded to know where I was. Thankfully, the hostess and another waitress knew everything and told him I had quit and that they didn't know where I was. I haven't spoken to my father since the night I left home. He knows I'm alive and well because I called my mother, and I know she told him. I wouldn't tell her where I was staying, just that I was okay and wasn't coming back. I waited until I was sure I could make it on my own before I let her know. The one person I stayed in touch with was my younger brother. We emailed at first and then texted several times a week once he got a phone. I wouldn't say we were super close, but we were closer than anyone else in the family. I felt guilty about leaving him behind with my parents and our equally abusive older sister, 23F, who still lives at home with them. My father was always worse to my brother. Maybe it was because he was the only boy, so my father thought he could take it. I don't know, but he was terrible to him. I am convinced he drove him to suicide. A little over a year ago, my brother took his own life. It gutted me. I tried to be there for him and support him as best I could, but I work all the time. I just wish I could have done more. I feel like I failed him. I found out from my mother. She called me from his phone the morning after they found him. I also found out that my father was just going to abandon him at the morgue and let him be buried by the county. I couldn't do that to him. So I called a funeral home and arranged for him to be cremated. I took his ashes and scattered them on the beach where we used to go fishing together. I think it's what he would have wanted. My father is angry though, really angry. I paid for my brother's cremation with a credit card. It was $6,000 and I don't really have the money to spare, but it was important. It's going to take years to pay it all off, but he was worth that to me. But that isn't how my father sees it. He somehow has this crazy idea that I had a $1 million life insurance policy on my brother and that I'm rich now. He and my sister have been showing up at the restaurant where I used to work, demanding to see me. The owner keeps calling and telling me about it. I've called the police, but they won't do anything unless the owner wants to charge them with trespassing. I called my mother and tried to talk some sense into her, but she believes this insane story about life insurance and now thinks I killed my brother to collect the money. My sister keeps calling me from different phone numbers and leaving awful, threatening messages demanding her cut of the money I don't have. They are all crazy and hurtful, and I am worried this is going to get worse. What can I do? After this post, OP took about 2 months before creating another. It's been a while. A lot has happened, some good, some bad. I am prepared for many I told you so's and more this is fake messages. But so many people wrote to me over the holidays offering support and asking about my situation that I wanted to post an update. First of all, thank you to everyone who replied to my last post. It means a lot to me that so many people cared. The advice and support I received were desperately needed. I didn't realize how much. Honestly, when I posted, I was hoping for some kind of magic answer that would get my unreasonable family to just listen to me. What I got was much more. I guess I couldn't see just how blind I was to certain people in my life, especially my mother. I always labeled her in my head as the good parent. She and I always had a somewhat okay relationship, even if she let my father do all kinds of awful things. Even after she started accusing me of killing my brother for money, I kept hoping she would snap out of it if I could just convince her how life insurance works. But a lot of the comments made me realize she is an enabler and that I really did need to cut ties and move on. That was so hard for me. I didn't want to think that I'd never be able to see my parents or my sister again, not even for Christmas. I know there's a lot of bad in what they've done, but there were good times too. Times I will always miss. So many people offered kindness and support. I couldn't allow myself to accept any monetary donations, but I do appreciate the gesture. One especially kind and amazing Redditor offered me something I couldn't turn down. They helped me get a job at the company they worked for in a new state. Without their help, I don't know if I'd be here to post this update. I won't call them out, but they know how grateful I am. Okay, on to the actual update. As I mentioned, I have a new job. It's better than what I was doing, and it has some great benefits. It's in a new state, where I now live with a new roommate and her kitty. Uprooting myself and finding a place to live during a pandemic was challenging, but my roommate has been awesome and very understanding. She knows my situation and won't let anyone claiming to be family inside if they should somehow manage to find me. Everything that can be is in her name, and she's happy to keep it that way to help keep me safe. I figured things out with my new employer who allowed me to do almost everything related to interviewing and screening online, so I knew I would have a job waiting for me. I also found my new roommate online and we FaceTimed a bunch, so we knew we'd get along when I arrived. She even picked me up and helped me get settled. When I told my landlord and former boss I'd be leaving for good, she was sad but happy for me. She waived my last month's rent and even gave me a Christmas card with some cash in it to help me start my new life. But it wasn't all good. I made a mistake, and I know many of you warned me about it. I could not leave without saying goodbye. Plus, I needed something to remember my brother by. He had a huge collection of old band shirts, and I wanted just one of them. I knew my mother hadn't touched his room. She said she was saving evidence for the investigation, so I knew she would have one. I called her and told her I wanted to see her. I said that I wanted to have dinner with her and her alone, and she agreed not to tell my father or sister about it. I told her I wanted one of his shirts, and she agreed to bring one for me. I explained that I was leaving town and wanted to say goodbye for closure and because it was Christmas, which was always such a special time for her and me. I wanted to meet somewhere public, so I picked a restaurant we had been to before that I knew she liked. I got there early and watched her come in, so I knew she was really alone before she sat down. We had a really nice meal together. She seemed to have actually changed her mind about my father's crazy allegations. We talked about my brother. I told her where I had scattered his ashes in case she wanted to visit him. When it came time to leave, I paid the bill and asked about the shirt. She told me she left it in the car so it wouldn't get stains on it. She had been so nice and friendly during dinner that I trusted her. I went with her to the parking lot to get my brother's shirt. My father was waiting there for us, and he had a gun. As soon as I saw him, I screamed as loud as I could and ran. I went back inside the restaurant and yelled that a man with a gun was after me. He barged in screaming, and I ran into the bathroom and locked myself in. I called the police and waited in there with the dispatcher on the phone until they arrived and arrested him. I pressed charges, and so did the restaurant. My mother lied about the shirt. I should have known she would. That is my biggest regret, I think, because her showing up there like that was the push I needed to finally cut all of them out of my life for good. I am sad that I have nothing to remember my brother by, but I like to think he's looking over me. I now have an order of protection. I changed my number and deleted all my social media, and I am thinking of changing my name too, maybe by taking my brother's first name as my surname as a way to honor him. I hope 2021 can be my year. After another 4 years, OP came back and created an additional update. It's been a while, and I honestly forgot about this site entirely. I don't use any social media, so I'm not really in the habit of keeping up with these things. But Reddit sent an email about a privacy update that reminded me, so I thought I would share an update in case anyone still cares. The past 4 years have been a time of great growth for me. I did change my name, as some people suggested. I didn't end up taking my brother's name for fear of linking me to my former family and making it easier for them to find me. I did want a connection though, so I took the fairly common last name of his favorite singer and a first name I've always loved and wanted to name a daughter someday. My roommate was amazing. She got married last year and moved out with her now husband. I still see them occasionally as friends. She let me keep the apartment, and I also ended up with her kitty because he liked me better and her husband is mildly allergic. So we're besties now, facing the world together. After 2 years, I left the job that a kind Redditor helped set me up with. I found a much better role closer to the apartment. It pays better and I can walk to work. I'd call it a win. I know everyone is wondering if there has been more family drama, but luckily there hasn't been. I haven't heard from any of them since I left. I am waiting for it though and trying my best to make sure it can never happen. I do wish I had something of my brother's left. He would be 20 now, the same age I was when all of this went down. It still hurts to know he won't ever be 20 or 30 or anything else. I wish I'd kept a piece of him or maybe had some of his ashes made into a necklace or something just to have him with me. Everything happened so fast, and I never thought I'd end up leaving home, so I always thought I'd be able to visit our beach if I wanted to talk to him. But I guess that's the trade-off. I don't date at all. I keep pretty much to myself, at least for now. I don't think I can trust people enough to get close. I am in therapy and it's helping. Things are honestly pretty good right now. I just wanted everyone who wondered to know that. So many kind people offered support and advice and opened my eyes to realities I wasn't ready to recognize. I might not be here if not for them, especially the person who put me in touch with the resources and helped me find a new job. I owe my new life to them, so thank you. In the comments, user IC Library said, it really shows a new level of awful that OP's parents were just going to abandon her brother's body at the morgue. To treat your child so poorly, even in death, should be criminal. Then a different user named Storming Brett said, why do people like this have kids? Like, seriously, if you want to be this horrible to someone, buy some damn dolls or something. Don't have innocent kids and mess them up, to the point they either don't want to live or don't trust another living soul. That's enough Reddit for today. Under this comment, a user named Finkelstein said, I'm pretty sure I know why my narcissistic parent had kids. She messed me up so badly that I didn't want to live. She wanted to be loved. My older sister was raised to please and defend her, and it's very hard to tell her things she doesn't want to hear. I've had to give up on her for now so I can focus on my own recovery. It was never an option for me to please my birth mother. No matter how good I got at making art, music, magic tricks, or cooking, she could only ever judge me, not love me, and her judgment, whether good or bad, would only upset me. It was also useless, not only because it wasn't what I needed, but also because I was smarter and had better judgment than her. I was always the one teaching her things my entire life, and she's a teacher. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and thank you also to partner of the channel, Gamersupps. Use code DLAM to support the channel and get 10% off of your purchase, link in the description. I'm sure many of you like me have a hankering for daily caffeine, so go check them out. Lately, I've been a big fan of Titty Milk and Acid Rain, but they've got dozens of other flavors for y'all to try out. Anyway, thanks again for reaching the end, and I hope you all have an amazing passage of the next 24 hours.